but today really want to talk a lot more about the challenges that our customers are having and how they're using cloud security as a solution to help them drive to their desired business outcomes. So, hey everyone, my name is Aaron Trockman. I'm the worldwide channel solutions engineering leader at Wiz. And I've been with Wiz for a year. Before that, I was at AWS for 3 years working with partners and customers. And what we found to be really unique about the space that we're in today is that cloud is the biggest transformation that security has experienced. So security teams operating on-prem versus security teams operating in the cloud, it's a vastly different experience. And the reason that it's so different is it really boils down to, sorry, got some animations in here, is that we're now operating in a new environment. And not just a new environment, but we're operating with new services. As you all know, the cloud providers, especially AWS, are launching new services on a regular basis. Developers, and we all like the idea of developer freedom, are able to spin up those services. They're able to write roles and grant permissions to those services. They're able to play with them. They're able to, have sensitive data in their accounts in order to build things like large language models and more. But all this does is it creates a lot of different complexity. We're also seeing a lot of risks from those. So understanding how to configure all of those different resources is confusing, is troubling, right? So for a security organization to be able to keep up with all of those new risks, all of those new potential misconfigurations, as well as to be able to understand how those can exponentially grow as you look at how one resource has a role or access to another resource, and that has a lateral access to something else, it can all get very confusing. And then lastly is the new ownership model, is that how do I ingrain that security into our teams? So oftentimes we see most organizations have a centralized cloud security model, whereas they may have hundreds of development teams. And what that means is typically is that security often becomes a blocker. And it becomes really hard for security to keep up with the pace of innovation that cloud teams want. And what this really boils down to is that cloud, application teams, DevOps teams, they want to expand. They want to use more cloud. They want to use more services. They want to expand faster. But the security team capacity typically doesn't grow as fast as the pace of innovation that we see from application and development teams. And that's really where, you get into this area where if I approve applications, if I just say go ahead and launch things, and I haven't done a full security review, I'm creating blind spots. I'm inserting potential risk into my environment. But if I'm not doing that, well, I'm slowing down my cloud journey. So this really, was the precipice for where Wiz built our product from. And when we built Wiz, we said, hey, our leaders were running cloud security at Microsoft for many years. And they said, this existing model, it's not effective. There's too many different tools. They're not talking to each other. And even though teams keep buying different tools and technologies, it doesn't actually increase the capacity of security teams and give organizations the ability to scale. So this is really where Wiz came in, and we built a unified platform to do everything that a organization would need from a cloud security perspective. And Wiz is a new category of tools called a CNAPP, a Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. And what we did is we identified from a lot of different stakeholders and different organizations, what are the key things that they need to use the cloud for, right? So whether it's GRC from a client compliance perspective, SOC from incident response, DevOps, from deployment, hosting, all of that. And then understand what are all the different technologies? How do they all work together? And what we've built is a platform that can do, what would typically be, 15 to 20 different tools in one single platform. And that provides a lot of flexibility and ability to scale for organizations. Many organizations today have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tools doing, a combination of different things, right? So they may have one tool just to do cloud detection and response, one tool just for vulnerability management. Typically, those tools don't talk to each other, or if they do, they don't talk together nicely. And what that has done for many organizations is it's created a lot of noise, a lot of alerts. You may have heard of the idea of alert fatigue, where security organizations become overwhelmed with too many alerts, too many issues, without the ability to really go out and to prioritize what's important, how to fix those things. And that's what Wiz has done so well. And it's actually allowed us to become the fastest growing software company ever, because we've been able to really identify, hey, if we can do all this in one platform, we can provide a lot of business value for our end users. So I want to just talk a little bit about why it's so important to prioritize your cloud security choice. First is, typically with legacy solutions, these were typically tools that were ported over from on-prem world, think vulnerability management type tools. And they don't really have an effective cloud strategy, as in many cases, they're not keeping up with the pace of innovation in cloud, and don't understand the full risk landscape, the full surface area landscape of cloud, particularly around cross-cloud. So if you're in a multi-cloud environment, typically you'll have something that provides cross-account roles, which can open up, a huge amount of risk in an organization. Typically, legacy solutions are not built for developers, and they really don't, allow organizations to scale at the pace that they want. Whereas a born-in-the-cloud solution like Wiz is really built for the cloud and future-proofed for the cloud, and to provide unparalleled visibility into everything that's running in their cloud environment, and then to be able to provide them the context of everything that's in their environment, as well as to be able to provide them the ability to prioritize and remediate those issues. So just want to kind of highlight here is what we're seeing today. Gartner has put out some studies that enterprises are going to be consolidating their cloud security tooling over the next couple of years. And Wiz is actually a great choice to consolidate a lot of those opportunities, a lot of those different point solutions. So as you can see here, across CDR, IAC, exposure management, vulnerability management, and more, choosing a platform like Wiz gives organizations the ability to cut out the noise of all the different platforms and focus on one that actually is not then about security, but about empowering application, cloud, and development teams to do what they do best, to deliver new capabilities, new services, bring new products to market. So high level, when I talk with customers, we don't talk about cloud. We don't talk about security. It's more about cloud and business outcomes, about how do I transform the cloud security operations model? How do we rapidly improve their security posture? How do we help them build a cloud security program? And how do we accelerate the cloud initiatives? Many organizations today, for example, are experimenting with AI. We've actually found that 70% of enterprises, 70% of our customers are using AI in some capacity. Typically, some have full-fledged applications. Others have just spun up a Hugging Face model somewhere in their account, just as an example. But what that means is organizations are eager to try new things. And a security organization, typically wants to slow those types of things down to fully understand their risks. And that's really where, when you have a platform like Wiz in there, you can empower your developers, you can empower your teams to expand, to try new things, to launch new services. One of the last things I'll just say here is that cloud security can actually not always just be a cost, but can actually be shown to how it can actually have a business impact, an ROI for the business, where there can be, you can look at the costs as a fixed cost of what's it cost to buy a product like Wiz, but then you can also look at from a tool consolidation. Can I deprecate, sunset, retire different tools? Can I look at productivity gains where my developers are able to push code faster because security is built in through a shift left mechanism? Can I look at risk improvement where we're saying we're less likely to have a breach, we're less likely to be affected by a potential vulnerability in the future. And all of this is how we work with customers to actually show them how the business outcomes that they want actually become possible when you look at a cloud security platform like Wiz. So when we say, how do you build an effective cloud operating model? We typically go in and we say, what are the risks? What are the blockers in your cloud environment? And security is always the number one blocker in cloud organizations. And that's where a tool like Wiz can really come in and be helpful. So with all that said, that's a presentation. I know I'm right at time here, so I'll pass it back to you, Ron.